everybody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody on 149th Street at the bench.
Hitting dope pieces on freight trains and really sick wall styles. That's gonna be what we go over in today's video when we rate your guys' graffiti on a scale from 1 to 10 that you submitted over on Instagram. Now, throughout this process, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys some tips and tricks, but I'll be honest, with how sick some of these pieces are, I'm not sure how much we're gonna be giving tips out. It might just turn into us admiring some of your guys' really dope work. To kick things off, look at this piece from Genome. I know it's Gnome, right? I'm messing around. But this is a really dope piece. I personally really like that letter G, and I like the overall simplicity of it, but if there's one thing I have to go ahead and mention, it's how the E is made partially from the M's structure. Now, I don't really mind the detail overall. I just wish it would have been implemented elsewhere in the piece, because now that specific section really stands out, and if we consider just the E itself and its structure alone, the E structure doesn't hold a lot of weight. Where most of that weight comes from is actually from the lower part of its structure, which originates from the M. So with this, we not only have a structural kind of issue happening, we also have a letter name weight issue happening, and as a result of both of those, we run into some flow issues as well. And to fix that, all you would do is you just implement a similar detail somewhere else, or you would just make that E its own individual structure. Either one would work, and either one would do perfectly fine. Still, overall, a really dope piece. I'm willing to give this a good 6 or 7 out of 10. Now check this out. If you guys do digital work on Photoshop or Procreate and you want to pick up a free digital sketchbook, we got one over on the site in the description down below. You can go ahead and check it out, download it for free, and have a blast with it. Now check out this freight train done by Rula. Rula came out with a really nice crisp piece. This is the kind of thing where if I'm driving on the highway, this might cause me to get into an accident one day as I do a double take just to see a piece like this. Also, love the fact that he didn't go over the letters and numbers. That's pretty important. There's actually been a clip going around Instagram and circulating saying to do exactly that. So I wonder how many people that didn't know that before now are knowing that just from that Instagram clip. Regardless, really dope piece here. Now, I'm conflicted with this piece, alright? I'm between a rock and a hard place because Rula said he wants all the advice possible, but I always give leeway when looking at stuff on walls, or especially stuff on freights, specifically because he asked for all the advice. We're not gonna hold any punches, we're gonna give him the advice. First things first, we all know the letter L likes to push letters away, and as a result of that, it tends to have a bit of negative space. In this case, we end up seeing exactly that between the L and the A. Now, the amount of negative space that's in there is a lot more than anywhere else in this piece, and he does a pretty good job of filling that in, not only with the drop shadow, but also filling it in with the exterior detail. This is very effective, and something that you guys can also implement in your own work if you're struggling with a similar issue. Also, notice how he leans the A to the left in order to once again help fill in that negative space. This is somebody who's dealt with this issue in the past and knows how to handle it. But something that I think would have helped here would have been to take that left side of the A and make it reach the cap line before it begins to curve upwards. Now, doing this would have forced you to redesign the top portion of the A because obviously you may not have been able to reach much higher than the cap line in order to do an additional swoop, because at that point you'd be higher than your R. But all of these things could have helped to fill in that negative space. Also, if you knew you were going to do a really small U, then one of two things has to happen. You either have to beef up the R to compensate for the LA combo and their weight, or you would have had to shrunk the A down in order to compensate for the lack of weight from the U. Or you have a third option. Because the U lacks so much weight due to its smaller size, you could add weight in a different way. How do we do that? By making it intentionally stand out with a different fill-in color, and giving back some of that weight that it lost through its size. And that's probably the easiest solution for something like this, so like that you don't have to change any of your other letters. Overall, we're giving this a solid 9 out of 10 from Rula. Love the piece. Next up, we got Tost here, and it's just a solid piece that he's rocking. Beautiful letter T's. You can see they're expertly handled. The negative space on those T's is managed perfectly. Notice how they don't push any letters away, and the letters are positioned and structured in a great way to allow its drop shadow to help fill in these negative spaces. This is honestly textbook stuff here, and I don't see a single fundamental flaw, even with the stylized S. And the reason that works is because it's technically what's referred to as a letter distortion. Essentially, when you add extra boxes to your structure. The O has the same thing. The negative space from the T is also managed by the gentle lean that he has on both letter T's. If we look at the left T, the top right of the left T lines up perfectly with the bottom of the T. And a similar thing happens on the last T, where the top left of it lines up perfectly with the bottom of the T. What this does is it allows for a straight line to be drawn between the top and the bottom of the letter, and that helps to mitigate the negative space that the letter T creates. Really solid stuff here. This is going to be another 9 out of 10. I love this piece. Spur brings us a beautifully done piece here with a gorgeous red 3D. I'm loving the orange and red gradient you have in there. Absolutely perfect 3D color. Especially against that blue background, it helps to make things pop out. But there's contrast in more than one way here. Because he has the white fill-in, white obviously doesn't have all that dark of a value. But if we look in the background, he's got a nice, deep, dark blue. The value of that is pretty dark. So not only are we contrasting through color with the blues and the reds, but we're using that blue that previously contrasts the red, and we're also making that blue contrast the white. This brings everything together, as everything kind of revolves around contrasting that blue. It's a subtle little thing that he did, and it works out gorgeously. Not to mention the fact that those are just some fire letters, man. I mean, I'm loving that R. That R is crisp. It is so buttery. This is the kind of thing where if I was going to a DL spot and I saw this on a wall, I'm definitely pulling out the phone and grabbing a prime picture of that wall. Also, can we just appreciate how accurate his 1-point perspective is on a wall? Usually, you see a little bit of inconsistency with 1-point perspective on walls, and this is done really well. He did a good job with his consistency for the 1-point perspective here. This definitely gets a 10 out of 10. Now guys, I have a huge favor to ask you. You see, I'm hard at work on the throwing book. I'm not gonna weigh these pages, and I'd like your guys' help for it. The same way we kind of did here, where you guys submitted pictures that we used to teach certain lessons. I'd love for you guys to do the same thing on our new book as well. If you'd like to submit your throwy for a chance to be in our brand new book, then check out the link in the description down below. It'll take you right on over to the submission page. We made the process really easy, and you can submit as many different throwies as you'd like. While you're there, feel free to pick up our brand new book. It's the only book that teaches you variant structures and all of graffiti's fundamentals. We got digital copies on our site with physical copies over on Amazon. All the links to that in the description down below. I think that pretty much wraps up today's video. We had some really sick pieces in today's video. Thank you guys for submitting, man. I love seeing your guys' work. Also, if you guys want to learn graffiti, check out this playlist right here. It's got a bunch of great tutorials you're gonna find useful, with more graffiti content right down here. It's what YouTube thinks you'll like, and I'll catch you guys back here next week. Thanks for watching.